The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings to friends, family, enemies, and traitors. Because we know we got all of those listening. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio on the Wake Up Radio. You can also check us out at otwtube.com. That's otwtube.com, where you get the uncensored content. Tonight, we are going to discuss the people who are left in the presidential race. The goal is to be as, first of all, give me a 1 if y'all can hear me. The goal is to be as comprehensive as possible. And if I get through all of this tonight, this will be the last time I cover it unless there's something important taking place. So, we people who are here on time. So we get started. BB4OD, Straight Black Pride to Brother Elijah. BB4OD, Straight Black Pride to Sister Vanessa. BB4OD, Sister Simone. BB4OD, Brother You Got Ripped Off. And peace to the ISP and BB4OD, Sister Najee. I know there are some people that I didn't tag this morning, and I don't see them, so maybe that's why. But anyway, so as we know, last week, Straight Black Pride to Sister Nina. Last week, the Democratic National Convention took place. I try to find a way to make this mic comfortable. And so the race is officially on. So what I decided to do this week is to take 2 hours or less, that's the goal, to cover all the people who are left in the race. So something unexpected. You said some striking music. Yeah, I can't use the music I want to use. Not on that level yet. Something very interesting happened at the end of the week, like seemingly, I think right after the day after the Democratic National Convention ended, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to talk about that as well, although I just realized I did not grab a video for that, but I may end up doing a separate video altogether. So this week, we are going to have 3 live streams and at least a couple of videos and a couple of shorts. We'll close out the month strong. I don't have no promises for you next month. So this will be, depending on the type of viewership we get and the type of support we get, depends on how much content and how in depth we get in the future. So right now, let's just say this may be the most in depth we get for a while. So enjoy the ride. All right, so let's get started. Greeted everyone, right? What I want to do is cover all 4 candidates that I am aware of who are currently available. I mean, currently still running. Mr. Now, Mr. Kennedy, I guess I'll cover him first because what he's doing is so unique. At this moment, Mr. Kennedy announced the suspension of his candidacy. And I wasn't thinking about it. I should have brought a video up, but I wasn't thinking about it. It's just plain and simple. And so, I just forgot. We are over. Let's make sure we're over on Instagram. But he suspended his candidacy. And so when he did that, let's see. And we are not live on. Hold on. Y'all give me 1 second. It says we are not live over on Instagram. We're supposed to be, but I don't know what's happening right now. But Mr. Kennedy suspended his campaign, but he didn't end his campaign. And he endorsed Mr. Trump. And so what he said, what he wants the people who support him to do, and I think that, like, politically, this is pretty, it's low-key a genius move, is he's taking his name off the ballot in 10 battleground states. He wants the people who follow him to vote for Trump in those states. And I mean, not and, but, or however, he wants the people in the other 40 states, the non-battleground states, to vote for him just like they were planning to vote for him before. Now, the last poll I saw, he was running at, I believe, 5%, or around 5%, between 5 and 7, the last polls I saw. And so the reason that's important is because I think he has to get over that 5% threshold to be able to start an acknowledged political party. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do two things at once. One, he's trying to pass the threshold to have a recognized political party. But two, he's also trying not to be the spoiler that hands the election over to the Democrats. Now, for those who don't know of Mr. Kennedy, his family, they're lifelong Democrats. He said he has people in his family who, I think he said in the Biden administration, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, then that is very interesting, right? So that political move that he's making is one of the most strategic and calculating political moves that I've seen. And I think if he ends up getting, for example, let's say that Mr. Trump survives and wins, and the election isn't, y'all know what I'm about. Y'all know what I'm saying. Then he would be in a position to get a position in the cabinet, which he wants, Health and Human Services. I think HHS, which means that Mr. Fauci's former position will be under him. Now, the reason that that's important is because, number one, he wrote a book on Mr. Fauci. So there's anyone that knows about Mr. Fauci's dirt and things that he's done over the years, is Mr. Kennedy. Taking over the position that's over Mr. Fauci's old position will give him all the documents. about what went on with C-19. If there's one man in America who would take those documents and rip them open and show them to the American people, it's Mr. Kennedy. So I don't know if Trump understands like how dangerous, and not in a bad way. Like Kennedy, he's such an interesting person because he has that Kennedy wildness in him. Like that's a real thing. He has that. That's just a wild Irish dude. That's them. Okay, that's just part of their culture, it's part of their genetics. That's in them. But also there's a certain wildiness and definitely a certain fight in them that has apparently just been passed down generations. Now, the threat was always John. That was the one that the politicians feared. They feared John because he had the looks, the charisma, and they feared him going into politics. And well, we don't have to worry about that because he ended up somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So that is what it is. RFK, because he has somewhat of a speech impediment and he's controversial. He isn't as charismatic as John would have been, but his unique take on a lot of things as far as the pharmaceutical industry makes him a threat because we know who runs the pharmaceutical industry. Like we have these discussions every week about who runs stuff, and literally we just keep talking about the same people over and over and over. And it's like really, it's almost unbelievable. That's why people think it's unbelievable, because it seems unbelievable that certain people can be everywhere all the time almost. Brother, you got ripped off says RFK, thank you, man. RFK is against a lot of scheduled shots, especially for newborns, so that's a powerful position for him as long as he doesn't do what the hats want. Right. Even taking that position is against what the hats want, because Pfizer and some of the other as we know now, some of the other major pharmaceuticals, they are that's them, that they're hat owned and controlled. So that's what made that interesting. At least to me, it made it interesting. So I just wanted to get that out the way. But probably if I got time tomorrow, I'll probably do a separate video just on that whole connection and why he did it and how that's supposed to work. So what I'm gonna start with the candidates that people probably aren't gonna vote for, right? But I'm gonna put the people up here anyway. Somebody asked me not last time, but a while ago when I first started covering the entire election. Somebody said, "Well, where's Brother Cornell West? You ain't covering Brother Cornell West." And I'm gonna get to him. I'm gonna get to him shortly. But I'm gonna start with Jill Stein. Now, Jill Stein has been running for. I'm trying to think what year that was. 2016, maybe 2015. I did a lecture on the election and presented all the different people and talked about voting machines and all this stuff. Like this 8 years ago now. And Jill Stein was running for president. And she ran in 2020. And I think she ran in 2012. So she's been running like her side job. You know what I'm saying? Is running for president. You know what? Let's just go through the website and look at her policy. Jill Stein is one of those people who, here's the problem in America, right? Here's the problem with third parties. And the first time I saw a third party candidate was Ross Perot in 92. I believe that he was in the election with Clinton, and Bush won. I think he was in that. And I think he was a billionaire at the time, if I'm not mistaken, which being a billionaire in 1992 was like crazy money. And even him with his money and everything, and he's an eccentric looking dude or whatever. I don't even remember his policies, but he was able to make a dent. The problem with third party, well, there's two problems with it. Here are some of the problems. How about that? Number one, especially the Democrats have just waged a war against any third party group coming out. Like, they try to kick people off the ballot, and just all types of legal shenanigans. Like, they did it against RFK, but they also did it against, like, I just saw something today where they have Cornell West off the ballot. So that's like, you have the legal machinations that you have to, the hoops you have to jump through to even appear on the ballot in all states is one thing, which is crazy because the Democrats literally, like, part of their discussion is, in essence, we have to save democracy from Trump. But Trump is not, as far as I know now, if somebody knows something contrary to what I'm about to state, correct me, please. Trump is not trying to kick people off the ballot, because the whole thing is that the smaller, the third party candidates are running to the left of, before they straight black pride to spray mind character. So they're all trying to run to the left of the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party, to be completely honest, in my lifetime, has moved so far to the right is that, except for LGBT issues, they're where the Democratic Party now is almost where the Republicans were when Clinton was making deals with Newt Gingrich. That's how far to the right they moved. So, like, it's weird. Like, you have to live a certain amount of time to be able to look and notice how these parties have shifted and how the rhetoric, what they do is, and I'll get your brother Safo shortly. What has happened is that what the Democrats have done is that they've used the rainbow issues as a tent pole of their quote unquote progressiveness, while moving all of their other issues to the right. You see what I'm saying? So it gives the illusion that they're quote unquote progressive, I'm putting this in quotes, while at the same time many of their positions are to the right of Trump. They're not to the right of the Republicans per se, but they're to the right of Trump, because everyone forgets Trump at one time identified as a Democrat. Trump donated money to Democrats. Trump hung out with Democrats. But Trump is really a political independent masquerading as a Republican in reality, right? That's why there's always this tension between Trump and the Republicans, and sometimes they like him and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're like, yeah, we got to rally behind the leader of the party, and sometimes they talking about him behind his back because he came from outside the party and took the party over, and now it's his party. And then he came with the whole "Make America Great Again," and the people, y'all know the people I'm talking about, the majority, right? They that rhetoric and his style of speaking and presenting himself, they were attracted to that. And so, he basically became a rich dude running a populist campaign even if all of his ideas weren't populist ideas. Which is, that's just where we are politically in America right now, where, man, slogans and speeches a lot of times beat policy, right? And then sometimes slogans and speeches don't beat policy, but, weird things with voting machines beat slogans and speeches. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anybody thinks that we're sitting out here and everybody's vote is getting counted, sure, everybody's vote might get counted. The problem is the voting machine might be set to minus 100. You know what I'm saying? So some of these things, you're going to get some Bugs Bunny counting from both sides. And if you don't know Bugs Bunny counting, way back in the day, Bugs Bunny used to count. It used to be like, 1 for me, 1 for you. 1, 2 for me, 2 for you. Like, some of that stuff is happening. I don't care what anybody says. America try to say their elections are this, that, and the other. Listen, I've been around. I remember 2020. That was the first time nobody had any idea what was going on. Then you got the whole electoral college that's not going to be certified until sometime in December, right? So the idea that all this is up and up, we're not naive enough to do that. But we're doing the people a service to discuss the issues and the people. Now, Brother Safo says, greetings, glad you're back dropping truth. Appreciate you. So now, we're going to go to Jill Stein's platform, and we're going to read some of the platform. And she's representing the Green Party again. And first of all, let me just take a look at her running mate. I found this guy interesting. Butch Ware. I've never heard of him, right? Interesting looking gentleman. Says Professor Butch Ware is a lifelong activist and educator specializing in the history of empire, colonialism, genocide, and revolution. For the past 2 decades, Ware has put scholarship in service of the people, especially in response to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Now, notice that we have a blackish looking individual. So I don't know if he's black and Arab, I'm not sure. And he's rocking a pretty fresh dashiki, if I do say so myself. So, I don't know what Butch stands for necessarily, because all these things, there was a time where I would have heard all these things and they would have been impressive. But I'm not gonna lie, when I hear these types of things now, y'all know what I think. I ain't gonna say it though. Say he's organized teachings, community education, curriculum, and other activists and organizing initiatives. So sounds like her running mate, and said he was born in DC but raised in Minnesota. Sounds like her running mate, who I was not familiar with, but I just wanted to show who he was because she does have a running mate. Sounds very Black Lives Matter-ish to me. And that is what it is. So let's go to their platform, Green Party platform of Ms. Stein and Mr. Ware, I believe. And let's just take a look at it. All right, says people's economy. We need an economy that works for working people, not just for the wealthy and powerful. Kind of hard to argue with that part. To reverse surging inequality and insecurity. We need an economic bill of rights establishing the right to a living wage job, guaranteed livable income, housing, healthcare, childcare, lifelong education, secure retirement, utilities, healthy food, and clean water, so that all of us are guaranteed the basic security for a good life that can reach our highest potential. I'm gonna just be completely honest. If there was any chance in the world this woman winning with this platform, her breathing would be in question. Just what she could put, what she said at the beginning, the amount of wealth transfer that would take place with some of the stuff that she's saying, There's people that's gonna make sure she's not breathing. That's all I'm saying. So, but anyway, she says a Jill Stein administration will. And for those of you following me on Instagram, you saw that I was looking for policy for Miss Harris. And somebody told me to look at it. I looked at a couple of things, and we're gonna look at a couple of things tonight. And then somebody did send me a thing says try the White House page, which almost makes sense, except she's not the president. So why would her policies be up there? Because she's saying that she's not Joe Biden. She's her own person, which is, I mean, that's fine. You know, I have no argument with that. But anyway, I digress. Let me get back to Jill Stein. It says guaranteeing lifelong free public education for all institutions of learning, including trade schools and pre through K, college and graduate. Now, here's what's interesting with that. There were some states that were like that before, like people like Huey P. Newton picked up a law book. So, but there's so much money in the education field, and you also have the amount of money that the banks make from the various student loans and stuff like that, that you would have a fight in Congress. You see, ending privatization of public schools, increasing equalize public school funding, abolish all student debts, which isn't like did Mr. Biden, did he ever get around to that? Because I know he promised it, and I kept seeing that he was doing something on it, and then, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't affected, so I didn't pay attention. Let's see, guarantee free child care, reduce taxes on incomes below the real median income of $75,000 per household, strengthen Social Security, remove loopholes and allow foundations to hide. Remove loopholes that allow foundations to hide wealth from taxation. Oh man, nah, Bill Gates is definitely not going to let you keep breathing. You do that. Let's see, institute progressive tax for incomes and wealth and increase the estate tax. Free high-speed internet across the U.S. with rural broadband via fiber optics. Put too big to fail banks into public ownership as public utilities. Currently, the 4 largest banks own 25% of all banking assets. Break up monopolies in big tech and elsewhere. Ban corporate stock buybacks. Let me just be completely honest. I don't even know if she's serious with all this. But in modern America, in the post, oh man, what is the case? But basically, the case that said that money is speech. That in the world we're in now, that's after that, the chances of any president, I don't care who it is, being able to implement the vast majority of this stuff and get it through Congress while AIPAC exists. Yeah, okay. But hey, it sounds good. Says labor, her administration passed $25 minimum wage, index to cost inflation and productivity growth. Implement universal rent control. Guarantee housing is a human right. Like, what she's really talking about here, being completely honest, is literally just completely altering the current economic system. And I don't have a problem with it, but now that I see what her policy proposals are, there's no way in the world. Okay, because here's the problem, right? Even if you look at this and you say these are great ideas, right? And some of them are great, some of them I agree with, other ones I'm skeptical, just like everybody else. The problem is, and this is the problem with American politics currently, I'm not saying the problem with her necessarily, is that the people who you are running against are paid to stop or maintain the current system, right? So Literally, what she's talking about is overthrowing a large part of the current economic system, or reversing it and resetting it back to where it was. And yeah, now that money is speech, it's just no way. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is what's messed up. These used to be policies that made one a progressive Democrat. I don't see any of this stuff on Miss Harris's websites or things like that. So they're not even, people aren't even trying to steal, Democrats aren't even trying to steal the ideas of the smaller party anymore. Like, that's something they used to do. They were like, yeah, we can't let y'all win, but we'll steal your party. Right. So that is, oh, hold up, you got ripped off, got something. Hold up, I'm gonna get to that, because that was worth a super chat, but I'm gonna put that up. So just looking at the policies that she enumerated here, which is quite extensive, and I appreciate her putting her policies up and being very specific with that. Doesn't matter if I agree or not. It's just the fact that I'm able to access the information, and I can tell you all where to access the information, which I guess I haven't. But yeah, Jill Stein 2024.com, and under platform. She also has housing. She has healthcare. So, and so-called democracy. So we'll get to healthcare. We'll look at a little bit of that. But this is what I was looking for from Kamala Harris. I was looking for policy, because to sit around and argue and debate with people and all that on the merits of the person and not on the policy. I mean, first of all politicians make up stories and tell tales. So, you know, the fact that the person is a policy, I mean, the fact that the person, if you're trying to judge the character of a politician, I mean, they're a politician. That tells you that character. you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about here? Right? So, I mean, it is. Anyway, brother, you got ripped off. All right, here we go. It says CrowdStrike, you know, the company that backdoor access to computers running the Windows OS, which caused a worldwide IT outage, is in control of the machines that do the ballot counts. Ah, boy. Yeah. I mean, again, I covered years ago the problem with our election machines, and they got new machines and new company for the same problem. And if I'm not mistaken, CrowdStrike is, let me look. I think they're connected to Israel. You know, I think they're either an Israeli company or partially owned Israeli company. I'm looking it up while I'm talking to you all right now. Let's see. And it says it is an American cybersecurity company that has that acquired two Israeli startups in 23 and 24. Anyway, you know what that means. And it says CrowdStrike troubles open new doors for Israeli cyber security companies. All right. There it is. But I digress. Yeah, we're 45 minutes in. I haven't got past Jill Stein. So this is what I'm going to do. Because obviously we see how extensive her stuff is. Again, you can go to jillstein2024.com to get, even if you want to get down into the nitty gritty of her policy. I have a clip of her. Why I don't have the clip of Cornell West that I thought I loaded, and I don't know. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna vote. You want me to play the clip of Jill Stein? You vote 1. If you don't, you vote 2. And then after a few minutes, we'll just, whatever y'all say, we'll do, and then we'll move on. So I'll get into a little, while y'all voting, I'll get back to a little of her policy as far as health care. And I'm trying to see, I thought I saw something on, she says, restore confidence in the FDA, CDC, and other regulatory boards by one, closing the revolving door between corporations and regulatory boards, and get corrupting big money out of politics by adopting public finance of elections. Ban patents where the research, ban patents where the research and development has been paid for by taxpayers via public colleges, the NIH, the CDC, and other governmental entities. Take the pharmaceutical industry into public ownership and democratic control. Big Pharma has failed to serve the public interest in an industry awash in private profit as it gouges consumers with monopolistic pricing in a business model. I just lost where I was. But anyway, you talking about taking over the pharmaceutical company and making them public. Again, ideas that definitely, if you try to implement, will lead to having trouble breathing. I'm like, we're just being completely honest here. And then something with democracy says replace the exclusionary two corporate party system with an inclusive multi-party democracy through ranked choice voting and proportional representation. You know what? I've heard of it, but I don't know what ranked choice voting is. I think that's where like you vote for multiple people. It's like, I want this person or this person or this person, or lastly, this person, which is more like a parliamentary system like they have in Europe. Yeah, I don't know that helps. Because as long as money is speech, I don't think you can really, anything you do to change the system really matters. So I got 2 ones. Now y'all gonna laugh at me and say I'm getting old. So it is what it is. But was the one to play the video or not play the video? So y'all gotta remind me. Was that it? Y'all want me to play the video? Just, let me know. Because it's her campaign video. Like, that's what I found that was concise and to the point. But I'm just looking at this. Like, these ideas are okay to play. All right, cool. These ideas are interesting. The biggest problem I see, she got something on policing, ban private prisons and detention centers, legalize cannabis in mass incarceration, restorative justice. I'm not for abolishing the death penalty. I'm gonna just say that right now. She has abolishing the death penalty. I am completely against abolishing the death penalty. We got social justice here, talking about honoring treaties with indigenous nations. I have no getting folks to honor treaties. Yeah, good luck. Should be noted that the Black agenda is a progressive agenda. There are other policies essential to the overall Black agenda. Hold on, let's go back. Let me go back. Reparations and the agenda to facilitate Black liberation. A Jill Stein administration will guarantee as a human right reparations to the descendants of African slaves for the historic crime of enslavement. Reparations are the cornerstone of the Black agenda, but reparations is far from the only policy needed to begin to redress what has been stolen from the Black community for 400 plus years. We don't need any further debate on whether reparations should be paid. They should, without question, as they were in 1988 to those impacted by World War II Japanese internment camps. The Stein administration will confer with Black community leaders on who qualifies, how they qualify, historical records exist, how much they will be paid in cash, and how those payments will be made. Okay. All right, let's stop right here. We're gonna play the video. But before we play the video, I have a question. And y'all tell me the answer. Now, y'all know what my major problem with Jill Stein is. Right. You know what? Hold up. Let me look for one more thing. Just one more thing I want to look up real quick before I get into this. But that part was in. And come on, computer. Giving me problemos. Here we are. I don't see. This is my problem. You got letters. What in the world is 2SLGBTQ? When did we start when did they put stuff in front of the LG? All right, here you go. Jill Stein administration will guarantee human rights for rainbow people, because there's just so much stuff. And then what? The Equality Act, Pride Act. What is all that? Anyway, de-gender and add non-binary gender options on all federal public documents. All right. I knew it was somewhere. I just want to get to it, and I don't even want to leave that up here. Okay. I was going to ask a question, but now I'm not going to ask this question. The question I was going to ask was, why aren't the people like the FBA people supporting Jill Stein? Now, you know why I'm not supporting Jill Stein. There are two reasons. One, y'all just saw. The other one, y'all already know, but I'm not going to say, right? But why are they supporting her if this person supports reparations? It's just a question. Do people know she supports reparations? Do people know that there's absolutely no chance in the world of this person winning because she's already run consecutively at least 2, 3, 4 times? It's just a question. So this is what I'm going to do, because it's right on time for me to do it. I'm going to run her video, since y'all voted for it. You wanted to see it. You wanted to hear her. And then we will move on to Mr. West and his running mate. Like me and the computer just having a fight right now. All right, so here you go. This is Jill Stein.
People are tired of being thrown under the bus by wealthy elites and their bought politicians. Tired of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, locked in student debt and medical debt, child poverty doubling, rising diseases of despair, growing hopelessness. The political system is broken. The two Wall Street parties are bought and paid for. Over 60% of us now say the bipartisan establishment's failed us, and we need a party that serves the people. I'm Jill Stein, and I'm running for president to offer that choice for the people outside of the failed two-party system. We'll put solutions to the crises we face: crushing inequality, endless war, and climate collapse. And we'll put these front and center in this election and on the ballot across the country. The ruling parties that got us into this mess aren't getting us out. Both parties are squandering trillions on the endless war machine, fueling conflict around the world, while tens of millions here at home lack food, housing, healthcare. Democrats have betrayed their promises for working people, youth, and the climate again and again, while Republicans don't even make such promises in the first place. And both parties are a danger to our democracy, expanding censorship, criminalizing protest, throwing competitors off the ballot, suppressing debates,
American people who've been systematically locked out of these debates,
rigging their primaries. So forget the pundits and the attack dogs who tell you to ignore your misery and just keep voting for those who caused it in the first place. Change won't come from the ruling elites. It comes from we, the people. And when we stand together, we can create living wage jobs for all Americans, We can guarantee an economic bill of rights with the right to a job, to health care, to housing, to food, education, and more. We can abolish student debt, medical debt. We can create a Green New Deal with millions of jobs to fight climate collapse and protect Mother Earth. And we can ensure our constitutional rights and freedoms and justice for all. We can end the endless wars and rampant militarism and use diplomacy and international law instead to end violence, occupation, and apartheid. We do have the power, and we can use it in this election to start building an America and a world that works for all of us. Go to JillStein2024.com and join us.
All right. So that was Jill Stein. That was, she got free airtime from me. It would be hilarious if they sent a copyright strike. When she got more time from me than she gets from anybody else other than probably Democracy Now! So that was her. So we're done with that. Again, you can go and see her extensive platform. And y'all already know why. If you've been watching the show and you know me. Not going to be voting for her. Nothing personal. Next, we got Cornell West. And this is his, my bad. So 2024. He said, we need visionary and courageous presidential leadership. Can't argue with that part. Now, let's go to his platform. Oh, excuse me. My bad. Hold on. Before we do that, let's go back. Because I got to show his running mate. Here we go. Because it's West and Abdullah. This interesting looking person is Melina Abdullah. Is she a doctor? Dr. Melina Abdullah. Says Melina Abdullah is a professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA's College of Ethnic Studies, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and Black Lives Matter Grassroots, where she is also the director. Stop right here. Known by the moniker Dr. Melly Mel. Please, people from my generation older, stop trying to be cool. Please. Please. Now, brother, you got ripped off? Indeed. Now, you're going to ask, hey, she's running for vice president, brother. Why are you wasting time on her? So, I'm going to take you all back to 2015. Almost 10 years ago now. I don't know if you all remember this, right? I do not have the video. Bill Genie has a video somewhere. He probably doesn't know where he has it. There was a video before the Million More movement. And there was a lady who said that their goal is to queer the movement. And how they negotiated with the Nation of Islam to put LGBT at the center of the Million More movement. If anybody remembers that video, put a one in the chat. Well, that lady who did that negotiation and spoke in that video is Melina Abdullah. So that's what her priority is. Queering the movement. Right? So I just wanted to point that out because DC doesn't forget. I forget some things, but there's some things I don't forget. And y'all know me. DC doesn't forget very often either. Or, like the angry elephant. So yeah. So that is her. So let's look at, since we know who she is now, let's look at Mr. West's policy. Now, Mr. West, as we know, one of the problems I have with him is, I got a lot of problems with him. Let's be honest. I got a lot of problems with him. But, as far as I've seen in the last 20 years, he's never seen a black woman that he would marry. But he has married some other women, because I swear it seemed like he's been married 3 times that I remember. Now, I could be wrong. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at some of the things he said. Gender justice. Let's see what that is. Even ratify Equal Rights Amendment at the 28th Amendment of the Constitution. All right, it says. So okay, that's one. Reproductive rights and healthcare access. So he advocates for abortion. Because when people say reproductive rights, they just mean abortion. Now, as I have said before, fundamental problem with that is, yes, sister, she was. The fundamental problem with that is we've lost over 20 million black people to abortion. I'm just saying, like, that's something we should weigh in the balance, right? Considering that they're importing non-black people into this country. Let's see, political and social representation, as I call it, amplify women's political, corporate, and leadership representation. So basically, he advocates the feminist agenda. Alrighty. So let's see what else he has here. Global justice. Dismantling U.S. imperialism is a moral imperative to confront and dismantle the structures and policies that have sustained U.S. hegemony at the expense of our nation's sovereignty and well-being. Basically, what dismantling NATO. Okay, I can get with that. But basically what he's saying is go against the military-industrial complex. Let me tell you something. As great as that sounds, the idea that you're going to dismantle the military-industrial complex in this day and time and continue breathing, good luck with that part. You know what I'm saying? I am a realist here, but I am shining light on these people's policies because people said, hey, you're not covering everyone that's running an election. I said, fine. So here we are. It says, promote global cooperation over dominance, captures our vision of world united in addressing humanity's profound challenges. Let's start right here. You're literally saying go against the nature of the people who are currently ruling, as they are currently setting about to establishing global dominion and hegemony. All I'm saying is, Brother Marcus, you didn't took the words. You took the words out of my mouth. It does sound like the WEF. All I'm saying is, some of these policies that we read from these 2 minor candidates, these people should be happy that they're not getting attention and they're not getting a lot of votes. Because the idea that you can implement some of this stuff and still be breathing the next day, good luck. Not to mention the fact that, first of all, the idea that you could get it past Congress, which is one of the major problems, because as we've talked about before, Congress has been captured by AIPAC. Just plain and simple, that, they're straight to the point. Let's see, normalized relations with Cuba and lift the embargo are steps toward healing historical animosities and building a future of constructive engagement. I can get with that. Non-intervention in Haiti and respect the sovereignty and agency of the Haitian people. I can get with that. And then next thing you know, he's talking about fighting global patriarchy. Bruh. Come on, man. National Gun Registry. Absolutely not. Listen. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let us be clear here. Right? You do not have to be a constitutional scholar to understand what I am currently saying or about to say. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights, from the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, only can exist as long as the Second Amendment exists. That's it, right? These two amendments go hand in hand. You only have the First Amendment because you have the Second Amendment. Any curtailment of the Second Amendment will allow curtailment of the First Amendment. Right? So anyone who does not understand this symbiotic relationship between the First and Second Amendment, to put a national registry where the government knows who has guns, what guns they have, and what ammo they have, is complete insanity. Because if you're the president and then you pass away, you're not elected, that data and information goes into the hands of people who may not share, actually completely do not share, your ideals or why you would implement that in the first place. Like, so that is a horrible idea. I disagree with that 150%. So let's look at some more policies real quick, and then we'll move on because we're way past. Let's see. It says war on drugs reform marks a departure from punitive. You know what I haven't heard anybody talk about as I read this war on drugs? When are we going to get a congressional investigation of the Central Intelligence Agency's role in the war on drugs? And let's get if we're going to start with reparations, let's start with that and then work our way backwards, right? Like, how come nobody ever talks about that? And y'all tell me, do y'all want me to do a show or even a lecture on the whole crack era and how that derailed black people? Because I've been thinking about that lately, and I got the best source for it in my closet, which is Dark Alliance by Gary Webb, who in essence gave his life to bring that information to us, and he wasn't even looking for that. Okay, and see this is where people go off the road. Immigration justice, streamlining legal pathways. But bruh, what about the people that are already here illegally? Like, you just bringing in more people so that we are outnumbered, and increasingly with the type of people that are coming across the border, outgunned. So again, let's just say you can't agree with everybody. He said he's for reparations. He's for reparations and also against mass incarceration, which, I mean, that's like it goes without saying. Like, he wouldn't have a reason to run if you want to say that, which is also a reason why you're not going to win. But hey, that's cool. And then here we go again, right? Is it right under racial justice? No. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Hold up. Nah. My bad. This is crazy. Now I'm gonna give him some slack. I'm going to assume that this stuff was put in alphabetical order. But I think it's mighty disrespectful that rainbow rights, or rainbow justice as he says here, is above racial justice or black justice. Like, see, because let's be honest, let me go up here. Since it's in order, alphabetical order, let me see if anything black is up here before I condemn the man or whoever put this together. So condemn his campaign. Now hold on. How you got black maternal justice? whatever that entails, right? So basically, you got black women justice up here, and then you got rainbows, and then you got racial justice. Why are you dividing black women from black people in general? And why, since you black, why isn't black justice at the top? Because if you do it in alphabetical order, if you put black justice, you see how there's nothing above here? See, there's nothing above black justice. Bruh. I know it sounds petty, but there's something psychological with that. So instead, racial justice is way down here underneath rainbow justice, behind immigration justice. Right? Then he's talking about gender affirming care. That means that's pro-trans ideology. I'm done. I'm done. Y'all want me to go through anything else with that? Just seeing how this was arranged and he's pro-rainbows, he's pro-trans, and black justice is near the bottom when it could have been at the top. It tells me everything I need to know. Now, I already knew this about Cornell West, but, sometimes you got to verify stuff. Just, y'all know how I get, man. My patience is getting thinner with this stuff every day. People aggravate me. So, again, you can go to CornellWest2024.com and you can read through all this. But again, I will give Mr. West and Ms. Stein credit for one thing. They had, it don't matter if you agree or not, they have taken the time to put out clear and maybe not so concise policy so that you can make an intelligent choice before and when you enter into the voting booth. So I see these are people who at least are respecting the intelligence of the electorate, even if there's not necessarily a chance of them winning due to the current electoral system. I respect them for respecting my intelligence, even if I disagree with a large percentage of their policy, right? I give them credit. Now, we're not going to what did he say? National ban on discriminatory laws. Our campaign vigorously opposes the insidious spread of "Don't Say Gay" laws and other legislation designed to erase or diminish the existence of LGBT. All right, I don't know why she's there, so that I knew that was there, but I just didn't help myself. So yeah. All right, let's get to Miss Harris. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Let me quick promo break for myself. This is The Center Live. I'm your host, DC Radical 1. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dcradical_ONE, via OTW2, Black-owned free speech platform at DC Radical 1. You can donate via Cashapp, $DC Radical 1. Of course, this is a YouTube, which is capital D, small c, Radical 1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1@protonmail.com. And I would like to thank the sister who sent a rather generous donation and sign of support earlier today. Sister, if you're listening, I greatly appreciate it. Now, and she said that via Cashapp, which comes directly to yours truly, as opposed to super chats, which I gotta wait for. Now, let's see. So earlier today, when I was on Instagram, I asked people for where can I find policy for Miss Harris, right? Now, the funny part is that I don't know if people, thought I wasn't serious or not, but I was serious, because I went to her her 2024. I guess it's Kamala Harris 2024 or KamalaHarris.com, either or. And I was looking for policy, and I was like, I didn't see it. So then you start going through people's stuff, and I'm like, I saw like a what do you call it? A biography of her, which I mean, she's been in the public eye now. And then I saw a biography of Tim Walz, which, okay, cool. And I didn't actually see any policy enumerated, right? Like we just saw from the two previous candidates. Now, y'all know previously I've gone through some of Mr. Trump's policy, and there's a part of me that wants to go through the Heritage Foundation document, but that's 925 pages, and let's be honest, our people aren't going to vote for that. But here's the thing with the Heritage Foundation paper, and then I'll get to Ms. Harris. The Heritage Foundation policy paper will largely have to be implemented by Congress. This is why I have thus maintained that the intelligent thing for Black people to do would be to split their vote. Whether we split our vote like just as it's looking like, where straight men vote one way or don't vote, and the women and rainbows vote the other way, or if we did what I think is the intelligent thing to do, vote one way for president and another way for Congress. The idea that either party is going to represent all your views, or the fact that either party, if they have the House, the Senate, and the White House, can still get anything done for the people. I've lived long enough to see that that's mythology. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, it almost doesn't matter which party. But here's the thing that's weird. This is how, since I've been paying attention to politics, since I was about 8 years old or so. When the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the White House, they have a tendency to get their agenda done. Now, you may not like their agenda, but they have a tendency to get their agenda done. When the Democrats have all three, they have a tendency to make a lot of excuses. And what they tend to get done is stuff that is least relevant, right? Like, for example, when Obama was in office and he had his people there was a lot of rainbow stuff passed. But stuff that actually helped the people recovering from the 2008 crash and housing crash and all that, yeah, not so much. That, and I'm just using him as a recent example that we can remember. But this has kind of been a thing since, as long as I remember, since I guess 92, because he had a long run of Reaganism from 80 to 92. Then Clinton started, he moved the Democratic Party right, and they've been moving right ever since. And that's how he won, also with the help of Ross Perot. But now that I have gone back through presidential politics over the last 40 years, let's go into the BBC now, where Kamala Harris stands on 10 key issues. So let's get into that. It says, Vice President Kamala Harris has been riding it high on a wave of favorable polls and energetic rallies since she became the Democratic Party's nominee for president. But beyond the good vibes, where does she stand on the issues that matter to Americans? That was a question I asked earlier. Although she has yet to release a comprehensive platform, her time as California senator and prosecutor, her 2020 bid for a presidency, and subsequent role in the White House give hints as to where Harris stands on a number of policy areas. Over the years, some of her positions have shifted, and even people close to her acknowledge she has sometimes struggled to define herself. But as she has accepted the Democratic nomination at the party's convention in Chicago, she made an effort to contrast her vision for America with her Republican opponent, Donald Trump. Here's where she stands on 10 key issues. Now, can we stop right here for 1 second? How can you struggle to define yourself when you've been in public office for decades? That's scary. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, to me, that's scary because it's like, do you have any positions? Is there anything that you actually believe in? Or are you a where the wind blows person? Like, what's really going on here? Now, it says, as a senator, Ms. Harris championed a number of quote-unquote progressive policies, including paid family leave, affordable housing, and free tuition for low and middle income families. As vice president, she has been Mr. Biden's partner in passing major economic legislation, regularly labeled Bidenomics, which include major investments in infrastructure and the green economy. As I'm currently sitting up here trying to figure out whether or not I see the article that I'm looking for, but I do not. It says Ms. Harris has thus far released her economic plan, including mortgage assistance for first-time home buyers, a tax credit for parents of newborns, and bans on price gouging at the grocery store to help target inflation. Now, I will say that these things sound good, but they're like some implementation things that I kind of wait and see. She said in her convention acceptance speech that her plan would create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to compete and a chance to succeed. I'm just being completely honest. That sounds like Republican rhetoric. Like, that's the type of stuff they've been saying for years about opportunity and so forth, so on. That's it. Come on. Can we be real here? The economy has been captured by a small group of people. You'll never get the same opportunity that Bill Gates has, because Bill Gates can walk into rooms you can't walk into. Like, it sounds good, but it's just false, right? There's no way, unless you alter things structurally, for you to implement this. But it sounds good. Now, immigration. Says Ms. Harris's position on the border has changed over time. You got to be careful whenever that's the first thing somebody says. While campaigning for the Democratic presidential nomination, she held fairly progressive positions, such as promising to close down immigration detention centers. I don't even know why that. Okay, whatever. In 2021, Mr. Biden asked Ms. Harris as vice president to oversee the diplomatic effort around immigration issues on the U.S. southern border. Many Republicans have characterized her they have called her the border czar. That's what they say, right? But she was tasked with specifically with working with Central American countries to address the root causes of why people were fleeing to the U.S. Is that not? Does that mean she's not the border czar? All right, I'm a little confused. As part of that effort, she announced in 2023 that she had helped raise $3 billion, largely from private companies, to invest in communities in the region, hoping to provide opportunities that would make immigrating to the U.S. less attractive. Earlier this year, she said she aided the effort to pass a hardline bipartisan border security bill that would have included hundreds of millions for border wall construction. But Trump helped kill the deal, accusing the Biden border policy of causing death, destruction, and chaos in every American community. Sarah said in her speech that she would bring back the bipartisan border security bill that Trump killed, and I will sign it into law. All right, I do remember that. I can't remember why Trump was against it, but I will say this. For me, the border thing is very simple. It's very simple. You have the largest, most powerful military in the world. You can't secure your own border. Hey, look, I'm an extremist with this thing because this thing has gotten extremely out of hand. You got the Army Corps of Engineers. You got the Army, Navy, and Marines. You have Homeland Security. The way to secure the border is by securing the border by any means necessary. Like, it's just, what are we paying these people for? Why are they fighting for our freedoms in Ukraine? As you know what I'm saying, as they used to say. Y'all remember when people asked that, like, why are you fighting for my freedom in Iraq? I live in America. I get the same thing. Why are they fighting for our freedoms in Ukraine? Take the money that you're sending to Ukraine and to Israel, take that money, use it to pay our people here to go and secure the border and simply build a wall. I'm talking about like, I'm talking about like go medieval with it and put people on that wall, hold up an electric sign in 10 different languages that say, "We are closed," and open fire on anybody that can't. If you're illiterate, you short. Like, that's the way to deal with the border. Like, anything else that anybody else talking about, I'm not trying to hear. Because if you can blow up other countries and all that other stuff, you can secure this border. Before the Straight Black Project, brother Rocky, good to see you, brother. Right? Like, I'm done with it. All this money these people are getting and all this stuff. I don't know where I gotta go. I'm about to know habla inglés my way to some money, because this is crazy. Like, people getting $10,000 a month in food stamps, all types of stuff going on. And black people fighting for our life in this Biden economy. And your border, and you talk about your border plan don't involve. I'm talking medieval. I'm talking like, forget them tiny little barriers they put in the Look, I'm not playing. I'm talking, forget a wall. I'm talking about building a castle with cannons and, you know what I'm like, whatever it takes, Malcolm X, by any means necessary. Enough is enough, man. There's a whole invasion going on. Like, I couldn't be the president, because I would tell all them countries, like, I will nuke you if you send one person here. I can't take it no more. Yeah, I know y'all was like, man, that's extreme. That's crazy. I don't care. There's a whole invasion going on, and you got the most powerful military in the world, and you can't stop the invasion in your own country. This is insanity. Why does nobody want to talk about it like it is? Dr. Collins says somebody's got to tell it like it is. I guess this won't stay up long. I have totally gone off the rails. But come on, man. This is crazy. Like, people, there are parts of DC where you've never seen any people that don't speak English, and they just everywhere. And New York is just overrun. And these people, there's nowhere to put them. There's no money for them. People who live here can't get nothing, barely surviving. And your border plan is anything short of like that. I remember that border bill. I was like, yeah, that's okay, but you're not serious. I'm gonna just be completely honest. We know America's serious when they blowing up people. That's when they serious. We know how this works. We live here long enough. They blew us up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like that was the first time they started blowing up stuff. The whole Civil War has got to the point where it's like, we need to make money this way. Like, no, we're making money the way we've been making it, and we're gonna continue to make it. And then they just start pulling out guns, start shooting. Like, so we know where America's serious. America's serious when there's some violence happening. Well, the violence is happening. It's just that the violence is happening from the Venezuelan gangs and all types of other people. MS-13 and all this other stuff. And every time I look up, and I don't really be covering this stuff, but every time I look up, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. Every time I look up, all of a sudden I'm seeing somebody's woman getting kidnapped, violated, shot, run over by a car, and you look up and it's always somebody from somewhere else. So if there's nothing that America should be united about, it should be like, okay, man, this is out of hand. Like, America had enough crime before any of this started. The last thing we need to be doing is importing crime, which is literally what we're doing right now. in an economy where they lied about 1 million jobs. Those 1 million jobs don't exist. I don't even know if I covered that, but I guess I got to do a video on it. They overestimated the last jobs report by 800,000 jobs. And I saw some people this morning say it's more like 920. So with no jobs, everything costs too much. And there's too many people here. And you talking about some little rinky-dinky bill, but you ain't talking about getting these people up out of here. Anyway, abortion. She supports abortion. Yeah, she don't have no children. This woman is 50 years old and she supports abortion because you think that she... Come on. Unless she got a medical condition, we already know what it is. NATO and Ukraine. While much of her early career focused on the state of California since going to Washington as senator in 2017, Ms. Harris became more involved on the global stage. As senator, she traveled to Afghanistan, Iraq, Jordan, and Israel. As vice president, she has met 150 world leaders and visited 21 countries. She attended the meeting. None of this actually says what her positions are. Like, they're giving her credentials, which is cool. I'm not mad at that. But let's get to the point. Okay, she attended the Munich Security Conference in the past year, and she delivered remarks in support of Western Security Alliance, NATO, and denounced isolationism. So, okay, she's directly opposed to the Trump position, which is make America great, like America first. Okay, now, so she's pro-Ukraine. She's also vowed to support Ukraine in its war against Russia for as long as it takes. Ms. Harris represented the U.S. in June at the peace conference convened by Ukraine. There was no peace conference because Russia wasn't there. It was a sham. It was a farce. And she likes Zelensky. So anyway, let's see. Ms. Harris is a longtime advocate for a two-state solution, and she called for an end to the war in Gaza. Let's be completely honest. There's a complete and total massacre that's taking place. It ain't gonna be enough Palestinians left for a two-state solution. It's very simple. You're in the White House. If you were serious, you would just simply take away the guns from... See, this is how it works. The guns that they're trying to take away from Americans, take them away from Israel, and the war ends. These people think... I just feel like people are disrespecting me and insulting my intelligence here. The United States is funding the war. So what is we talking about? And she's the vice president. So what are we talking about here? Now we know that Biden is, he says every day he's a Zionist. Well, Ms. Harris married a Zionist. So what do we think she is? Your bedroom politics is often reflective of your real world politics. I'm just saying. Let's see what else they got. Taxes. 2017, while Senator Ms. Harris supported a number of progressive tax programs, co-sponsoring a bill with Bernie Sanders to expand Social Security for the elderly by increasing tax rate on investments. As a presidential candidate, she supported a corporate tax rate of 35%, up from 21%. That's pretty aggressive. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens with that. If she's elected. This was more aggressive than President Biden's proposal, which she also supported an increase of 28%. Okay, so they advocated for an increase in corporate taxes up to 28%. Can anyone look up for me? Has anything been done on that? Because, they've been together for 4 years. So y'all let me know. She would pass a middle class tax. Hold up. Let me stop right here for a second, though. Y'all probably don't remember this. Some of y'all do. The whole tax cut thing was largely a Republican thing, And the Democrats used to be against it because they said that it would cause money to flow upward, like the whole Milton Friedman, what Mr. Bush called voodoo economic supply side theory economics, which has caused money to flow upward since it was first implemented in the early 80s. Right? I just find it interesting because basically, as I talked about with the Democrats moving to the right, they are basically advocating the same economic policies that they called radical when Reagan was advocating and implementing them. That's how far they've changed. So the idea of the Democrats being progressive, they got to keep using the quotes, air quotes. Again, as I stated earlier, it's just false. As Brother Brian says, well, the U.S. Army has a manual that highlights mass migration as a weapon of covert. Yeah, we've covered highest. For anybody that's wondering who's in charge of a large amount of this migration situation, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. Make of that what you will. And it's funny too, because I was on a website and they were asking for money, and I was just like, y'all got jokes. That's all I could think. I was like, yeah, somebody sent this to my computer directly. I was looking at something, and that advertisement popped up over the page, and I was like, oh, y'all funny. Y'all did that on purpose. Somebody laughed. Let's see. We got crime. She says, I'm a pass. What did I pass? I'm a pass healthcare. I'm assuming that she pretty much is kind of where Obama was on that policy. And if I'm wrong, so be it. Says she started her legal career prosecuting child abusers and sex traffickers before being elected District Attorney of San Francisco, then California's Attorney General. Her offices increased conviction rates, particularly of violent criminals, though that history led to criticism from the progressive left, which at the time labeled her a cop. Well, that's what she is. Like, the Attorney General is the top cop. It is what it is. Meanwhile, the right has accused her of being soft on crime. I don't think she's soft on crime. I think they're just wrong on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a video that somebody sent to me about some of the things that she has done as far as black people, but particularly black men. Maybe closer to the election, I'll do a video on that. Or not, I don't know. Gun laws. Ms. Harris has a history of backing gun safety regulations through her political career. She has successfully defended California's gun laws. I'm going to be honest. The way California is, anything that you want to implement that's the same as California is a bad idea. That place is going to heck in a handbasket. All right. So that is her policies. And then somebody sent me something that said promises Kamala Harris has made thus far. But I see we are losing time. So what I want to do real quick, and I don't know if I did this before, but what I want to do is, because we're talking about Miss Harris and many black women are voting for her because they say she's a black woman. Now, the destruction of black civilization says she is not a black woman, but we're not going to argue that today. The people who have read The Destruction of Black Civilization, the black people who have read The Destruction of Black Civilization, have a very different mindset and mentality to the people who have not read it. But what we're going to do real quick is we're going to listen to one of I do not believe he's an ancestor, he's an elder. But we're going to listen to our brother H. Rap Brown as he breaks down why, even if you put a black person in positions of power, you will end up fighting the black person that's in position of power. Right? So we're going to put a pause on the music and we're going to load this short clip.
politics as defined by the geographical and influential spheres of this country is irrelevant to black people and is irrelevant to the masses of people. The vote has been used as a tool of oppression against black people. I mean, Camus raises a very good point when he says, what better way to enslave a man than give him the vote and call him free? See, it does not profit black people or poor people anything to have the vote and not be able to select the candidates who they want to choose. Now, how can you choose between Lyndon Johnson, Nixon, Agnew, Wallace, and Humphrey? There is no choice. Evil is evil. There's nothing in between that.
There was some lesser candidates. Dick Gregory was running for office. Eldridge Cleaver.
I think the vote can only be used as a tool of organization. We can only use the vote to organize our people. Now, to really believe that we can put someone in office and that these people would be responsive to our needs is naive, politically naive. Because even if one of the black candidates who ran for office was to take the office of president, then black people must be prepared to fight against that person.
Why?
Because, you see, the system mandates the action of the individual. The individual does not determine how this country will function. This country works off the military-industrial complex, which means that it's profitable to wage war. And unless you devise another plan, another scheme to sustain, to boost this economy, then it's going to be necessary to wage war, whether, a black individual is in office or a white individual is in office. Well, so we're talking about a complete a change in system.
All right. That's our brother, H-Rap Brown, now known as Imam Jamil El-Amin. My question is, what part of that analysis, other than the use of the names of the people that were running at the time, is incorrect? He said that the current government is run on the military-industrial complex and that they wage endless wars to make money. We're funding wars, the 2 proxy wars currently right now. What's so crazy is, I believe Afghanistan had a parade where they were showing off the weapons that they got from the United States. The United States stayed in Afghanistan for 2 decades fighting. There's still U.S. military bases in Iraq. There's U.S. military bases in Africa. There's U.S. military bases in Japan. Weirdly enough, we don't seem to have any bases anywhere where south of the border that can stop the people from flowing over the border. I don't actually know how that works. But when I thought that clip was very relevant and timely, even though, weirdly enough, it's probably close to 60 years old. And so, as we saw from Mr. Obama, even if you put a person that you think is black in position of power, you will find yourself fighting against the black person. Because what did we find? When he came out, he was first he was talking one way, then he was all pro-LGBT, and black people were trying to take a stand against LGBT, and then next thing you know, he just broke out back to that. And then when black people were suffering as far as the housing situation, he didn't stand with black people on that. He gave the money to the bankers, and we know who the bankers are, right? Larry Fink was at one of those corporations, I can't remember which one, that went bankrupt, and now Larry Fink is in charge of BlackRock, thanks to Mr. Obama. So it just goes to show that the analysis from 60 years ago, our brother H-Rap Brown, now known as Imam Jamil El-Amin, who I believe is still incarcerated at like 80x max, like underground somewhere, buried alive, literally. And if I'm wrong about that, somebody can give me an update. I mean, I don't know what to say. I think once again, listening to our ancestors would save us a lot of trouble, but we refuse to listen. So now, what I'm going to do real quick, I got another clip. As y'all know, I was scrambling and searching for policy for Miss Harris, but it is apparent that I was not the only one who was searching for policy from Miss Harris. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play this clip and you all check this out.
Up here in Chicago, and we process Vice President Harris's speech from last night. We can talk about this. Her goal, to define herself before Republicans have an opportunity to do the defining for her. And she laid out some of her big policy positions on the issue. Some, but not all, and not always in that much detail. However, we spoke to delegates who told us they actually don't really need a detailed platform to feel that they already know exactly what she stands for.
With so much support inside the convention, it's easy to forget that Kamala Harris was not the Democratic Party's first choice to take on Donald Trump in 2024.
When did you become a supporter of Kamala Harris for president?
As soon as Joe said he wasn't going to go.
Pretty much as soon as President Biden said we're going to line up behind her.
For the first time since the 60s, delegates, including everyone we ran into at the United Center,
Hey, I'm Tony.
I know you are, Tony.
are backing a candidate who didn't run in a single primary.
This is new. That's new for everybody. It's new for Kamala. It's new for Joe. It's new for all of us.
Is it odd? Yeah, but we live in odd times.
The choice in this election could not be clearer.
When Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2016, she had more than 200 different policy proposals, a level of detail Joe Biden matched with a 110-page policy pitch in 2020, both backed with lots of interviews.
We have to bring the middle class back. We have to have a health care policy that makes sense.
How you doing, Hannah?
Harris, by contrast, hasn't done a single major media interview, or even added a policy section to her campaign website. And that's perfectly fine, at least for these Democratic delegates.
Everything's happening really fast. Give her a minute, and you'll hear everything that you need to hear.
They say voters already know exactly where she stands on reproductive rights. And she started rolling out some economic policies, too. Beyond that, they're not worried.
She has been at the White House for 4 years. She knows the policy. She's been doing on-the-job training for 4 years. That's the kicker.
She's not going to move far off the policies where we are now if she moved at all as far as President Biden had. After all, she was his vice president.
And yet,
she's not going to take all the policies of the Biden administration, right?
No.
More than a third of Americans say they don't know where Kamala Harris stands.
We will chart a new way forward.
And when you get down to specific issues, neither do a lot of the people who voted to nominate her.
Energy policy, is she for all of the above? Is she for limiting oil and gas? What?
Is she for all that? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I don't either.
You know, I think what we're looking at is trying to figure that out.
What's her position on marijuana legalization?
I'm waiting to hear with you on those issues.
But whatever the policies of a potential Harris administration, many folks here are certain they'll be better than the alternative.
We can't go back to Trump. I think the values of democracy that I put time and effort to become a citizen to defend and protect, I feel that's an insult. What happened?
So there's your number one policy. Can she beat Donald Trump? And you think yes?
Hell yes.
Okay.
Kamala Harris! And some here even hope what's happening in Chicago is ultimately a model for campaigns of the future.
But people are saying, well, she hasn't been out here long enough. Maybe our elections shouldn't run as long as they run. Making everybody get torn down, bitter, hateful, divisive. Maybe we need this to show us that we can do an election in 3 months, maybe 6, over and done, and everybody's good.
So, I found that interesting. The people that nominated her at the convention, who are part of the actual Democratic Party, don't even know if she advocates policy that would normally be in line with the Democratic Party. Again, this is not the voters. This is not a large percentage of America. This is Democratic Party insiders. Like literally just like go along with whatever we say. And it didn't matter if it was black women. I didn't see any black men, weirdly enough. And if there hadn't been any black men, their masculinity would have been in question. But I digress. So you had European males, European females. You had like literally, they're just like, man, the guy was like, we can't go back to Trump. I'm just trying to figure out, before the pandemic, between his election and the pandemic, why do people act like I don't know, like why do people, you know, I just, apparently I don't remember that time like they remember that time. That's all I'm gonna say. Because like the things like police terrorism that we faced that before Trump got in, right? People talking about Trump is gonna protect the police. Obama already did the blue alert law. You know what I'm saying? So this fear mongering of Trump as if that was the worst time in the history of America for black people is really weird to me, considering we survived enslavement and Jim Crow. We survived Reagan. We survived chemical warfare in the era of the 80s and 90s, where we know the CIA was instrumental in bringing drugs into the black community. Trump wasn't in politics for none of that stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out what history or what people had lived through. Apparently, maybe, and those black people that they had there, some of them look like they were older than me. They got short memories on what the really bad part of America looks like. And a lot of that occurred under Republicans. A lot of it occurred under Democrats as well, including the so-called black president. So I find that interesting. So Sister Najee said, Brother Rocky said, really just a bunch of cowards. I don't care, just rule me nicely. and Sister Najee said, it felt like America was off the rails with Trump, and cowardly black people feel better when Urugu feels comfortable. Okay. I mean, to me, it was just, it was all for the course. The only thing was the economy was a heck of a lot better, and you weren't paying, cereal wasn't $8.50. You know what I'm saying? You know, like those, like if you had one of those jobs where you get a steady increase every year, like when Biden came in office and first of all, he tried to run you out your job with the jab, no job. After that, I mean, the way inflation has gone up, like everybody's underwater because it's called what it is. And then the so-called new jobs that they claim exist don't exist. But all right, I digress. All right, we I knew this was going to be long. Okay, so here's what we're going to end up doing. This is going to be part one. Obviously, I haven't gotten to Tim Wise. I haven't gotten into JD Vance, who I don't trust at all. I'm going to go for 10 more minutes. I'm going to look at a little bit of Trump's policies position. And then I guess next week, so I already got something planned for Tuesday and Thursday. Either next week, I guess next week, I'll do part 2 of this. So, y'all cool with that? Cool. So let me see. I got Mr. Trump's platform. All right, so let's look at some of Mr. Trump's platform in the next 8 minutes. Number 1, seal the border and stop migrant invasion. I'm with that. carry out largest deportation operation in American history. Yeah, I'm with that too. End inflation and make America affordable again. Now, I don't know nobody on earth that ain't, nobody in America that ain't with that. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. There has to be some benefit in that somewhere for people like myself. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Yeah, got to really look into that to see what that's about, because that whole tax cut thing get real iffy. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to bear arms. Hey, y'all know I don't even consider myself an American, and I'm with that, because the censorship that has taken place just here on YouTube in the last 4 years has been egregious and excessive, and it's getting worse in places like Europe. So, prevent World War III. Hey, kind of hard to argue with that part. Yeah, I'm all with preventing World War III. Please and thank you. Now, this is his problem right here, because this is part of his policy. He doesn't realize that, because, all right, let's read this real quick. He says prevent World War III, which means he's aware that how close we are to World War III. Restore peace in Europe, which means end the war in Ukraine, and in the Middle East, which means end the war in Israel, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. Let me read that again. Build an Iron Dome missile defense shield over America? So basically, he's trying to bring back a modified version of Reagan's Star Wars thing, which they told Reagan they didn't have the technology for, and everybody made fun of, but I understood why he did it. You know, the 80s, like nuclear war was a thing. I had not seen that before. Let's see. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. And that's 50-50, because you know, whenever they start talking about locking up people, black people always get swept up in that. Rebuild our cities. Man, DC already been gentrified, bro. There's nothing left to gentrify at this point, but whatever you say. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts. Okay. See, that's, you know, what's interesting is that is actually an anti-Republican position that he's taking. And that's why I always try to tell people this idea that Trump is this staunch Republican is so false. Trump is his own thing. And why people can't figure that out, just listen to him. Like the stuff he's saying and then the stuff that the average Republican saying, they be talking about two different things. They just kind of fall in line when he gets the crowd riled up and they realize, oh, this dude's still popular. All right, we'll kind of deal with that. All right, let's see. Keep men out of women's sports. I don't know how you can argue with that part. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. There's an electric vehicle mandate? I didn't know that. Let's see. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. You know, this is one I'm ambivalent about, because there's part of this I'm completely against. I don't really like the critical race theory thing. I don't really know. Like, I wonder, could that be negotiated where black people are in charge of schools in their community and they teach real black history? Like, is that something that could be negotiated? Because if so, cool. If not, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, we could also build our own institutions, as some of our elders and ancestors did. And let's see, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our colleges safe for patriotic, safe and patriotic again. Now that sounds strangely like protect the you-know-who's, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. I'm with this. I don't have a problem with this. Paper ballots, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know, why does anybody have a problem with that, any of that? Voter IDs, I don't have a problem with that. I've dealt with that. Proof of citizenship, I certainly don't have a problem with that. And he says, unite our country. Good luck with that part. So that is some of the highlights of Trump's policy positions. Here's what I say. It is very unfortunate that in this day and time that we don't have a group of Black people who are willing to hold up. Brother KW Don says there's an electric car mandate in Canada. Justin Trudeau wants only manufacture electric cars by 2030. That's a WEF Agenda 2030 thing. Yeah, that's straight from the World Economic Forum. Okay. Yeah, Trudeau, I mean, he's 100% World Economic Forum. So that doesn't surprise me. All right. Yeah, if you're falling behind, you're doing the same thing Trudeau was doing, you definitely moving in the wrong direction. He's a complete WEF shield. All right. Quickly, as a reminder, this is The Center. I'm your host, DC Radical 1. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.radical1, on Twitter at DC_Radical_ONE, on OTWTube at DC Radical 1, and the Cashapp is $DC Radical 1. Of course, this is the YouTube, capital D, small c, Radical 1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And I don't remember if I mentioned the Cash App, but yes, if you find value in the information that's being presented, you can donate via Cash App at $DC Radical, the numeral 1, all one word together, because I found out that there's somebody who calling themselves DC Radical. Now, I've been DC Radical 1 for over a decade. So apparently someone somewhere is like, hey, let me try to clone this dude and get some free money. Right? All right. So I'm going to conclude part 1 here. We covered Miss Harris. We covered Mr. Trump. We covered Mr. West. And we covered Miss Stein. Next week, what we're going to get into, we're going to get a little more in depth with Mr. Trump and Miss Harris. We're going to hear from them, some clips from them. And then we'll also get further in depth on Mr. Walz, as well as any breaking news that happens during the week. And we'll also look into, delve a little deeper into the possibility of what the RFK Trump alliance would look like and what can come out of that. So that's what we're going to do next week, unless something major happens this week, because the world is crazy and you never know what's going on. But with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am your host, DC Radical 1, and this has been The Center. With that, I say, a baby for Odie and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical, the numeral 1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A big for ODA and straight black pride.